The following podcast is an RMG Media production.
Welcome to the Renaissance Podcast, a podcast for Renaissance women
and men
who want to create a modern-day Renaissance in their life and business.
We interview some of the most successful entrepreneurs and share their unique stories.
Are you ready to create your Renaissance? Okay, we are on the Renaissance Podcast today, and I'm having a little bit of a moment because I am sitting with someone who has been a mentor, a bestie, a sister, a business advisor, and a huge inspiration to me.
Thank you.
For the last 5 years. Gigi Butler is on the podcast today.
Hello.
Welcome.
I'm excited. Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's like a full circle. This is very surreal right now.
This is so surreal. You walked in and I was really excited to see your reaction.
I know.
Because Gigi is someone that I met in, it was either the tail end of 2017 or the very beginning of 2018.
It was like 3 months before you got married. So when was that?
Okay, so it was 2018.
Yeah, 3 months before you got married.
Yeah, because I invited you to the wedding and you couldn't make it, but I loved that you made a cake for us.
Yes.
Which I was like telling everyone at my wedding, like, Gigi Butler personally made that cake for us.
Oh.
And so we met. It's so important that you're here because it's just, if you've listened to this show, if you've heard kind of my story, I mean, you play an incredible role in the success of Renaissance Marketing Group.
Thank you.
You were my first big client. You took a huge chance on me.
I made a lot of enemies by taking that chance. Some enemies.
You did. You got some ugly phone calls.
I felt it in my gut though, that I had to take a chance and take a risk on you. I just felt it.
What is that gut intuition that you have? Because you are such an intuitive person. I've known this about you for years. You can read a room, you can read someone's energy and know if they're a good egg or a bad egg. You've always like pulled me aside and been like, hey, I don't think that person is for you.
Right.
And you were right.
Yeah. Well, you've done the same thing for me, though, because you have a good gut instinct. And taking the chance on someone that you really believe in was important. And I just want to do cheers to you.
Cheers.
For so much success. I'm so proud of who you've become and who you're still becoming to be. Your growth and your evolution of all of this has been amazing. And I'm very proud of you. Very proud. I'm your biggest fan other than your mom. So
you are right up there. Cheers. We have to take a sip.
Yes. And we've had lots of goods and bads and
this is Gigi, just
cheers to goods and bads.
Cheers to the goods and the bads. Through life, through business, through entrepreneurship, through friendships, through relationships.
Failed men relationships, not for you, but for me.
I've been along that ride.
You've been on this, so it's great. It's great to be here.
Okay, we need to go back though. So the day that we met, it was 2018. Mm-hmm. I was doing the social media for this organization in Nashville called Women. It was like an acronym. It was like WOM. And you were on the board of advisors for that organization. I don't know if they're still around, but if they are, shout out.
Right.
And I knew back in the day, I just needed to get my name out there. So I was doing pro bono, so social media work for them. And they were like, we have this huge event we're doing.
Right.
Gigi is our keynote speaker. It's a big deal. And
Hendersonville?
It was in Gallatin.
Yeah.
It was like North Nashville.
Right.
And they said, you can have 3 minutes to talk about social media trends,
Which was great.
Which was terrifying.
She did a great job.
I was scared shitless.
Yeah.
And you were such a natural.
Say that on this podcast. Shit. Let's get it over with.
Get it out. We'll let Kendall listen to this later when she's 15.
She's heard a few of them.
Well, I mean, how could she not, what you guys have been through.
Yeah.
So I got on stage and talked about like forecasting the social media trends for 2018.
But you were on point on some of actually 99.9% of all of it. I'm like, wow, I'm sitting there going, that's a great idea. Oh my gosh, I need to do that. So
And at that time, you were represented by another agency.
Right.
Who was doing your PR and your social media.
Right.
And I never even had it in my mind that you would be a client of mine.
Right.
And this was when I was a one-woman show.
Time.
I didn't even have Mindy yet at that time.
No.
And I got on stage, I spoke, and then you got on stage. And I remember you told the Taylor Swift story.
Right.
Which maybe, even though you just came off stage, we just came from an event downtown and you kind of shared the whole thing. And
Probably need to share it.
Probably need to share it.
Probably need to share that.
Let's share the Taylor story real quick, because when you shared this story, I remember texting my mom and just being like, I cannot believe that I'm in the same room with this woman right now. I mean,
so nice.
Such an inspiring story. Okay, so
Thank you.
So kind of give us.
Do you want me to tell that later? Or do you want
No,
to?
let's tell the people now.
Okay. So gosh, that's a long, but then we want to get back to how we met.
Okay. But I feel like
Now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Tell it now and then we'll come back.
Okay. So I was an aspiring country music singer-songwriter. I moved to Nashville with the $500 to my name, knew no one, didn't have a place to live, didn't have a job, and just knew that God would provide and take care of me. So I'm here. I had a cleaning business since I was 15. So I decided to wait tables and then build my cleaning business up. And then I started singing at night, cleaning during the day here, traveling all across the country and bars, Tootsies, name it, VFW halls, been there, done it. And then I was almost 30 and I got a job with Taylor Swift's family. And I had just got my butt pinched at Tootsie's by passing the tip jar, like literally the night before, staying up till 4 a.m. My brother had called me like 2 days prior and was like, you need to stop. You got to find a new dream. I'm like, I can't find it. That's all I've ever wanted. Like, this is my dream. So got my butt pinched that night and made $35. I'm like, after I'm paying for all of my band members who are stoned or drunk on stage, I'm babysitting them. Then the next morning, I pack up my cleaning supplies and I go to Taylor Swift's house. Well, she has millions to support her dream, right? Her parents are filthy rich and a savant. I didn't know this. She's 15. It was before her first album came out. And I'm cleaning her toilet and cleaning her bathroom, and she's sitting on her bed practicing her guitar and practicing a song she wrote. And as she played that song, I was like, I'm done. And it was Teardrops on My Guitar. And I looked at her, I'm like, did you write that song? She's like, yeah, it's going to be on my first album. I packed my cleaning supplies in my truck that night. I drove home. I'm like, done. Confirmation. I feel like a complete loser. What am I going to do with the rest of my life? And it was not an easy decision because I am hard-headed. I mean, I see a goal, I go for it. I don't give up. I have the faith. But it was time to close that door. And, so that's the Taylor Swift story. And what's so funny about Taylor Swift is I don't think she knew that I'm the person that cleaned her toilets and cleaned her house. But years later, my original store, when she would come into town, she would buy thousands of cupcakes from me. So isn't that interesting?
I remember seeing pictures when we started doing your social media and you gave me picture files and there were like the Scarlett's red velvet cupcakes that you made for her Red Tour.
Right. With
the
white
TS.
chocolate TS on it. And I mean, thousands of cupcakes. And it's like, does she know? And isn't that amazing how what comes around, the rejection I felt at her house that day. And fast forward, I guess 10 years, not even 10, 5 years later, and she's hot on the Red Tour, maybe a little 7 years later, and she's buying thousands of cupcakes. And then Leanne Rimes buying, I mean, what are the odds of that? And I don't even think she knew. Leanne Rimes knew, but I don't think Taylor Swift knows anything that day was a changing point that put me on a completely different path.
I mean, let's just sit in that for a second. You thought, that's it. I'm done. I feel like such a failure.
Right.
And then flash forward and you're making thousands of cupcakes for probably the biggest
star.
Yeah.
In the 2000s.
At that time and now.
And now, yeah.
I mean, what a moment.
Yeah.
Have you taken that time to really sit with that and be like, that was almost like a God wink, which you always told me God winks.
God winks.
You created that for me and you're like, There's sometimes
God
just
wink.
special moments.
That you just go, wow, that was a God wink. And I have chills right now because it truly was. And I know I have not sat and thought about that moment until right now. That's why I've got chills. It's like things come around. If you plant good seeds, you reap a good harvest. If you plant bad seeds, you're not going to have a good harvest. And everyone makes mistakes. I mean, we can have a podcast on the mistakes not to do, what not to do in the Gigi Butler world, especially with men. What not to do. What
That would
not
be
to
Renaissance
do.
After
Holy
Dark
shit.
conversation. Renaissance
What
After
to
Hour.
do, what not to do. Oh my gosh. But I mean, just the good seeds that we plant. And maybe it was the rejection I felt then, but God's like, I got you. I got your back. It's okay. You're going to be okay. I didn't know that at the time, but 7 years later, she's buying thousands of cupcakes from me, my original little store. After the rejection, I felt right there. It's just amazing how God works.
But you never stopped.
No.
You didn't let the loss of one dream stop you from being successful.
Well, no. I mean, I think we're all given gifts as when we're formed in our mother's wombs, and God gives us gifts and talents that you can try for, you can create talents and you can work hard for, but there are certain God-given things that is especially for you this time, this moment, in this part of the world. It's the timing that God gives us. And my gifts are tenacity and faith. And I've never been short of faith and tenacity. Some days I'm a little low, and everyone has different things. The gift of mercy, I don't have. I have to work on the gift of mercy and the gift of other things.
Right.
But faith and tenacity are God-given gifts.
I mean, you're probably the most resilient person that I know.
Thank you.
You have recreated yourself time and time and time again.
Right.
And that is the beautiful thing. We don't run out of those opportunities.
No.
No matter how old you are, you can recreate yourself.
Right.
And you've taught me that.
Right. It's never too late to recreate. Keep recreating, keep creating, keep creating, keep at it. Because if you just quit, you're never going to know. And because people are so afraid to fail. But 100% of what does Wayne Gretzky say? 100% of the shots never taken are, whatever that is, are the ones you never take.
You miss the shots you don't take. Jessica's helping us in the audience.
What is it?
You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
That's right. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take because you don't take those shots. And if I could say anything, it would be take the shot, take the leap, take that step, and take that step of faith.
And know that you're going to fail along the way, right?
Yeah.
And that's one of your themes that I think isn't talked about enough. You talk about it so well because it's like, we're all going to fail.
Right.
We're all going to fall on our faces.
Right.
It
Get
hurts.
our butts kicked, and
It's like the gut feeling of like, I didn't succeed at this, especially when you're an overachiever, type A, and you don't succeed at something. It's so hard, but you have to tell yourself it's part of that journey.
Right.
I mean, read your book.
Last year.
Let's talk about 2021.
Let's talk about 2021. Shall we? Shall we even go there?
The shit show.
The shit show of 2021.
I can only say that to you because you're one of my favorite people, and we rode through a storm together.
We did.
But we got out of it, and look at you. Right. You're your happiest you've ever been.
Yes.
And look at all the lessons.
I love my life. But it's been a life in progress for sure. But I want to talk about before how we connect.
Yeah.
So we need to really share that story with them. I think it's very important.
Well, I think it's important that they hear. So when I was, I guess, 25 at that time, and I had moved to Nashville at 19 to pursue music.
Right. Just like I did.
And so hearing Gigi's story, and I was overcoming I'm a failure.
Yeah.
Everyone from my hometown was like, why isn't she?
Why didn't she make it?
Why didn't she do music?
She'll come back home. Failure.
She's totally going to come back home. Oh, she's doing that little social media thing. I mean, I had an ex-boyfriend tell me when I had the idea to create Renaissance that was a really silly, stupid idea and it would never work.
Right, right. Well, we've all heard that. Yes.
Right. And
how do you like me now?
how do you like me now?
How do you like me now, boy?
I mean, and it's just like, I heard you say that and it almost it almost made me feel like it's okay, Sydney. You can wash that off. You can know music isn't your path.
Right.
And that's okay. God has another plan for you.
He brought you here. He always, if he closes a door, it's not like he's not going to open a window. Right. He does, but you have to step out. And when God shuts a door, no man's going to open it. And when God opens a door, no man's going to shut it. Period. If I've learned that, oh my gosh, no man will open that door. I can't pry it open. It's time to move forward, find another path.
And so we were at that event and you had gotten off stage. You had done a meet and greet. Mm-hmm. You had done some Q&A. I think I was too nervous to go up to you. And so I remember we crossed paths in a doorway and you grabbed my arm and you said, I want to talk to you.
I'm like, I love what you're doing.
You were like, I want to talk to you about my social media. Yeah. And I was like, what the heck is going on in my head? I was like, this is the most successful entrepreneur I have ever known. You had done something I could only dream of doing. Built this incredible brand. I mean, the branding of Gigi's Cupcakes, second to none. It's killer. And you did all of that.
Well, with the team, but yes.
With the team, but you were the visionary and the executor. And I mean, you grew it to the largest cupcake franchise in the world. I mean, that is entrepreneurial royalty.
Thank you.
And you grabbed my arm and you were like, we're going to get together. And I was like, holy shit.
Well, I said, I have a really good feeling about you. And you're like, ooh.
Yes, you did say that.
Sorry. No, I'm like, no, I have a really good feeling about you. Like there's something about you.
Yeah. We just clicked.
And we just clicked. And I was like, I don't know. I said, I have social media right now. I'm going through, but I need to pray about this. Like, and you're like,
okay. Yeah, you did say that.
I said, I've got to pray about this. Give me your card. Give me everything. You're like, okay, sure. Here's my card. But we got together.
We went to Starbucks in Franklin. Right. I want to say a few months after that. I think you took time. I think you gave your current, your that agency at the time to see if they were going to prove themselves or whatever it was.
Well, I prayed about it. It was going to be a very hard decision and it's very difficult.
They were mad.
Situation. Oh my gosh. And I knew it was going to be very rocky terrain because they were still going to manage me, but not do my social media. How am I going to mix this? And I was growing my brand at the time.
The book was going to come out that December.
Right. And I broke away from Gigi's, but yet I was rebranding myself, starting many speaking engagements. So it's like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? But I just knew. I just had a feeling, and I've been praying, and I prayed, and it just kept coming up. I'm like, okay, God, all right, I'm doing it. I'm biting the bullet. So we met in Cool Springs at the Starbucks. And I was like, I'm doing this. And you're like, what?
You were like, let's go.
I said, let's go. I want to hire you. And you're like, I don't know if I'm ready for this.
I said,
are you ready for this? This is a hot mess. You don't understand what you're going to get.
I didn't at the time. I did not. I was so excited. I had no idea how it was going to be. And I only say this because I love you, but yeah, it was crazy, but it was so great.
It was a nightmare.
And it was...
God, it was crazy. I mean, it was a roller coaster.
It was a roller coaster because there was so much going on.
Yes.
The book was coming out. We were working with the PR firm. We were working with Simon & Schuster.
Right.
I was just kind of getting thrown into it, which I tell my team now. I'm like, y'all, when we start with a new client, there's not usually like a period of you're just thrown into it.
You have to figure it out.
And you got to sink or swim.
Right.
And I was like, I'm not going to let her down. No. And this is a huge chance. And we also took over Gigi's Cupcakes Nashville social media, which was so much fun. We got to come in the kitchen and do videos with you. And we did photo shoots every season. We did Valentine's Day shoot. And I even felt like corporate was like, what's happening with Nashville?
I know.
Nashville's like.
We rebranded it completely.
And it was
they should have taken our advice.
I know.
Ugh, that's a whole
other podcast.
But then the Secret Ingredient series.
We created a YouTube channel for Gigi, the Secret Ingredient series, which was so much fun. It really if Walker were here right now, I know he would say
Walker.
It was his first chance at producing and doing videography.
I know.
Gigi just said yes. I was like, hey, Walker's got a camera. We're just going to come in your house.
Let's do it.
And you were like, okay.
Let's do it.
We did a Christmas one. We collaborated with Domino Sugar.
Right.
We did a collab with, some kitchen tech brands.
Some big
and it was just us just cold calling, and just being like, I represent Gigi, and we can we just get some free sugar? Like,
right.
it was amazing. And we were such a good pair. And then I went on the road with you a few times too, which we went to Gainesville right before the pandemic hit in 2020. And I remember it was your birthday.
Right.
We flew in. We had dinner at a really nice place for your birthday.
Right.
And then that next day you spoke at University of Florida for their Innovation Academy. And you don't even know this probably, maybe you do, but that whole experience changed my life because I met Yessie, who was our contact. And she then moved to Nashville a year later. And she offered the Wondery to be the place to host our summit. So through Gigi, there's just been I could go down the line of clients that we have today because they heard about me through 10. You. I could list probably more.
I can list 10 that I personally stamped.
I would just go to gigs with you, and then people would come up to me.
She's amazing. You have to hire her.
I mean, you just got off stage, and you were like, Renaissance Marketing Group. Sydney.
I did it today.
I know. And I was like, yes.
Renaissance. Got to go. LMBC people.
Right. But you've just been such an advocate for my dreams.
Thank you.
You're such an advocate for the people in your corner. And I'll take a top off.
I know. I've just drank it all. I'm like this.
So Gigi also didn't used to drink really until she moved to Florida. And now she's living her best life, as you should.
Well, I have a mojito once.
Every once in a while, we have a mojito.
2 a week, you won't gain weight.
2 a day, you will. Same
balance.
with sweets.
That's right. So.
Well, also, you look freaking phenomenal.
Thank you.
You were talking on stage about how when you had Kendall, you gained how much weight?
I gained 90 pounds with her. I'm 5'3".
You're so little and petite.
Thank you. 90. Can you imagine 90 pounds?
No.
I can't either.
I mean, I've seen pictures and I'm like, how is that even you?
It's horrible. But I have her.
But you have the most perfect, beautiful, she is just a doll. She's going to be a CEO.
She is.
She's going to be a CEO.
She's going to run my life.
She is.
She is. She's got it.
And you know what? There would be no one better.
No.
For her to get to that age, for her to be 20 or whatever and just be like, Mom, your cooking show, I'm the producer.
I'm telling you.
You know?
She just is.
But you could trust her.
I can.
You know?
She's honest, man. She's like, Mom, no. Go back. No, that's not.
No.
I'm like, really? She's like, Mom, you don't want to look like an old maid, do you? I'm like, well, I am an old maid. She's like, go back in that room and put something cute on. And then you can go out with me. She's 11. But
she's a little spitfire.
She's the best.
So, Gigi, of all the things that you've done, you've been a founder of several companies. You've exited, you've sold, you've spoken across stages across the country. You know, what would you say is like your favorite thing that you've done?
Most rewarding?
Yeah.
Well, being a mom has been the best thing of my life. The hardest thing, because of what's happened with the rejection, and I raised her myself. I've raised her completely on my own, been the breadwinner. So that's been the hardest thing I've ever done, but the most rewarding. And sometimes the hardest things we do are the most rewarding in life. And most people are like, oh, I don't want to do hard things. But those are the ones that go down in history. And writing the book, being on Undercover Boss, being a mom and founding a company were the fourth hardest things I've ever done in my entire life. And then closing my company and moving completely away from Nashville, that's the fifth hardest thing. And regrouping, rebranding, and recreating. So, yeah, those 5 things. But being a mom, the best thing I've ever did. I just look at her and I'm like, I can't believe God blessed me with you.
So Kendall had been on how many plane flights?
She's been on now 157 plane flights. I have a little log, and she started going on the road with me at 6 weeks old.
6 weeks old, child.
She walked in Atlanta. I was telling you today, her first steps, she was a year old. It was the day of her birthday, and she walked her first steps at a hotel in Atlanta because I had a speaking gig with
Sarah Blakely.
With the founder of Spank.
Casual.
So
just Sarah Blakely.
Yeah, just Sarah Blakely. And so she walked that day in Atlanta. So I always wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. I just didn't have that opportunity because I was
You were you.
I was the breadwinner and the sole provider. So our home looked a little different. It was in a bus or on an airplane or in a cupcake shop or on a stage, but we were together. So that was home. So that's my most rewarding thing I've ever done. That and then being on Hallmark, writing the book, being on Undercover Boss.
Undercover Boss, iconic episode. You guys can, it's on YouTube.
Yeah.
You can, they replay it a lot because I think it's one of their top episodes.
15 million people have watched it, and it just went to Scotland. So all these and whenever it plays in a different region, I get all of these people from Scotland or Iceland or China or Rio de Janeiro. I'm like, why do I have 15 messages from people in Rio de Janeiro? I've never been to Rio de Janeiro, like Brazilian, hotness. I'm like, what is happening?
Hey, that would be the worst to slide into your
Brazilian
DMs.
jiu-jitsu Googling me. What's happening right now? So it's so funny, but they played, then I'm like, oh, they played it that night. So 15 million people have watched that episode.
Okay, what was the Undercover Boss experience like? Because if you guys need to go back and watch it. They transformed you into looking,
Oh my gosh.
you're such a beautiful, beautiful woman.
Thank
and
you. I was this hippie. I was this
this wig.
This hippie, and no one knew who I was.
No one knew.
They would never say the words they said to me or the things they said to me if they knew who I was, ever. I mean, it was like an outer body experience that no one will ever be able to. How many times in the world do you get to be a fly on the wall and let people talk about you when they don't know who you are? What is that experience? It's mind-blowing.
It's mind
The
blowing.
good, the bad, the horrible. Like, I'm like, ah. And my code word was with my producers, I need a Tylenol, I need a Tylenol. I'm like, I need a Tylenol, I need a Tylenol, I need a Tylenol. And the producer's like, I'm like, I can't do this. They just changed my recipe. And he's shaking me, get back in there. He's like slapping my face. I'm like, I can't do it. He's like, get in there. Shaking me, and I get back in there, and I'm like, oh. So it was amazing.
Well, how did they know?
Hardest thing I've ever done in my life. That was the second hardest thing I've ever done in my life.
Childbirth was the first.
Childbirth was the first.
I can
The
relate.
rejection of that. And oh my gosh.
But how did they know which location? Wow, how did they pick the location?
Well, Undercover Boss goes and does a full field. They do a whole background of 6 months of just finding the right stores, finding the right people for the right story, going in there and trying to create the story, not thinking, oh, this is Undercover Boss.
Right.
But they said that it was an angel awareness episode, or I don't know what angel funding or something. And a bigwig like Oprah Winfrey or someone was going to fund an angel opportunity.
yeah.
Angel investor, that's what it was called. And they were going to pick 15 women from out of the country. And I was Candace from Bakersfield, California, right?
Which
is hilarious.
yeah.
But so Candace from Bakersfield, which it wasn't too far. I was from the high desert.
I was going to say, you were
That's an
kind
hour
of-
and a half from Bakersfield. So I lived the desert rat.
Yeah.
I get this. And so they came in and they're like, well, there's 15 women. Some are going to go to Target and Gigi's Cupcakes and Walmart, and they're all going to work undercover, or they're all going to work. And then you have to pick out who's going to be the best for the angel investor to give her $500,000 to start her company. So that's what they said to these people. So all these people, when I walked in, this little wannabe hippie, they were like, ooh. Wow, she is so passive.
Not going to cut
And
it.
she's like, she sucks. One time I walked in and she's like, I'm sorry, but she sucks. She's horrible. And I just want you to know you're not going to make it. And I'm like, I need a Tylenol. I need a Tylenol. I am going to smack this chica right now. I'm like, bring her. And the producer's pulling me, and I'm like, she's like, you're horrible. You're never going to take
like,
this.
I just
And
wouldn't
I'm like,
even.
girl, I'm your boss.
You want to say
I'm
it.
the founder.
You want to say, you know
biatch.
what, biatch? You know who you're dealing with here?
But I couldn't.
You couldn't.
She's like, you're horrible.
Contractually,
You're
you had to bite your
never
tongue.
going to ever have money to people and invest in you. And you know what I felt like when I had my cleaning business? You know how many people treated me like dirt?
Like dirt.
dirt. I felt the same way. I'm like, I'm having flashbacks from when I had my cleaning business. This is hilarious. But it was a really good experience.
Wow. I mean, and I'm sure it gave you like, I never want to treat anyone like that.
Right.
You know, in any line of work. And I've gone to dinner with you so many times, and you always treat everyone with so much respect.
I try to.
No matter who it is.
Well, when I was building the company, I made lots of mistakes.
Well.
And I mean, no sleep, a kid, she never slept. I made mistakes. I wasn't the most patient. But when you're passionate about something, sometimes patience goes out the window.
That's true.
So passion and patience are not a lot of gifts that people have. They give you patience, but not the passion, or vice versa. So,
well, okay, share, because we just came from an event. Gigi just spoke at City Winery for like almost 200 women for a huge corporation. Awesome. She speaks across the country. You spoke for Coca-Cola a few months back in Texas, which was major.
Oh my gosh, it was amazing.
I mean, Coca-Cola, hello.
It was, and they were all, and I spoke for all men. There were 400 men in the audience. I'm like, well, this is interesting. I'm in a tight red dress.
There's alcohol. Everyone's drinking.
Hashtag awkward. Some of them spoke Spanish. I'm like, hola? No, I won't sit on your lap. No, I'm not the waitress. I'm the speaker tonight. Thank you very much. Do not pinch my butt. No, I'm kidding. They were nice.
This is why I love you, because you just say it. I love you so much. Your humor is hilarious. You always crack me up whenever I'm with you.
400 men, though.
Yeah, no, that's...
and it's hard to like get in, just get...
You have to pivot. And I think that that's something you've done your whole career, is you have to pivot based on the audience you're serving, right? Like Cupcake audience, like you spoke for 200 women. Women empowerment. It was,
And then 400 men.
And then 400 men.
Businessmen that most of them spoke Espanol. I'm like, wow, this is a very, or 7,500
in Michigan,
Grand Rapids, Michigan, where
everyone
all of them
spoke Spanish. You had a translator.
I had a translator. I'm like, Cupcake.
I mean, you spoke.
El Baño.
and then someone just translated your story from the side.
My
so
God.
Imagine like talking in English, like your story, and then you have someone next to you
pausing letting her talk.
And kind of talking over you a little bit.
She had to.
7,500
people.
It was a huge gig.
Arena.
That was huge.
Amazing.
That was like Bridgestone. I mean, that was huge.
We were all singing Donde Este Santa Claus after. I'm like, come on, everyone. Let's be saying in Espanol.
You are so funny. I just love your energy. I love being around you. I've missed you so much. It's been such a long time.
I know.
Well, I want to talk about your 3 words, because you just shared that on stage. Right. And I think that would be really impactful for our audience. So what she did was kind of a breakout session. Right. So everyone had to write down their 3 power words that made up their mantra.
Right.
And it was so inspiring. Everyone wrote things down, and then you asked everyone to share their words before they asked you a question.
Right.
Okay, what are your 3 words?
Well, I identify. Everyone's wanting to identify with something right now.
Right. What's your identity?
I'm a chick, but I identify with 3 power words that make me me. Like, this is rise, recover, recreate, because that's all I've done my entire life. I rise, I recover, I recreate. I rise, I recover, I recreate. So that's what makes me me. And that's my new speech that I just debuted today.
Yeah.
Rise, recover, recreate. And how can we do that? It's perfect for the times. We just got all of our butts kicked with COVID and so much loss. And how can you get back to a new normal? So we rise, we recover, we recreate.
I love
the 3 power words.
I think it's I think anyone can even grab onto those words, because if you go through failure, which Gigi is like my go-to.
Right.
I feel like...
Hold on. Gigi, when you get your ass kicked, how do you get back up and... Oh, hold please. Let me get my playbook out.
Let me get my book of failures.
Did I get my ass... Which one? Okay.
Filtering through failures.
This is perfect. So when you get... No.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, I have... I think that should be my next book. Filtering through failure.
It's so important. You're one of the only entrepreneurs I know of that really talks about that.
Right.
It's very glamorous.
Well, people are prideful, and they don't want to admit that they failed, because then the whole society is like, oh, she's fallen. Well, you know what? I failed. Yeah. I fail all the time, and I just keep getting back up. And I think if you can be genuine with yourself and with what your life has been, and tell people in a genuine way, this is what I did. You shouldn't do it, but then I've recreated, and here it is. So I think if you're genuine and you're just real and you're vulnerable.
Vulnerable. Yeah. And you were very vulnerable.
I mean, you have to be vulnerable because when people see me, oh, she's just a little cupcake lady. Oh, she just had a silver spoon in her mouth. Absolutely not. I didn't.
Read the book.
Yeah, read the book.
The book will tell you. I mean, you grew up, your dad was kind of a serial entrepreneur.
Right.
He had, you had a Potbelly Pig business.
A farm. He was a
restaurant.
Restaurants, hair salon.
Bakery, maybe?
But we had everything.
Everything.
So, and he failed at a lot of things. But what it taught me was you just keep getting back up, that God's got your back.
How, through some of your hardest times, what has been maybe, I don't know if it's a Bible verse or a meditation or going on a walk, or what are some things that you've done to really help get yourself back into gear?
Well, you have to just come back to a balance. And my life has always been about balance. I have to have and I have to know that, okay, so if I failed at this, that doesn't mean it's over. And you have to fall forward. Okay, so I failed. I took all my money, and it just happened to me last year, right? I did Gigi's Kitchen. We want to talk about that.
Yeah.
During COVID, what was I thinking? I lost all my money. It was a nightmare. I closed it down, felt like a complete failure once again, really again. That's why I moved to Florida, just so I could just get my balance again.
Reset.
And listen to what God says about me. Like, what does God say? Because I had been inundated for years since I opened Gigi's Cupcakes. Adoration, adulation, everything. Oh, horrible things too. I'm not saying it's all good. Rejection, hate. I had to just get back and say, what does God think about me? What
Block out the noise.
Say? Right. What does he say? Okay, I'll start from there. Well, I'm more than an overcomer. I can do all things through Jesus Christ who strengthens me. I can do all things because he is in me. And I am in the world, but that doesn't mean I have to be of the world.
Right.
So that's what moves me forward every day.
It's the most inspiring thing.
Thank you.
I mean, and having kind of walked with you through last year, which was it was hard. And
very hard.
I don't think anyone that really knows you would even, doubt why you moved to Florida. I mean, when you told me that, I was like,
thank God, go. Just leave, please.
I was like, I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
Because it took so much courage to do that.
And I had to fight to get there.
Yeah, you did.
It's a whole other story. I was living a Lifetime movie, and I was hoping it was going to turn into a Hallmark movie.
Because they're always better.
Right. The Hallmark Christmas movie. And then I meet the sexy used-to-be lawyer Christmas tree farmer. Right, that I bake a pie for.
Still waiting on that.
That's
part. Going to happen.
But it has turned into a Hallmark movie.
It has.
I love my life.
I mean, I saw you when I was pregnant, I think over the summer, and I asked you, we had dinner, and I said, how are you? And you looked at me with just the most content on your face I had seen in years. And you said, I'm good.
Yeah.
And I
know.
Because you deserve to be good.
Thank you.
You have been through it. I mean, y'all don't even lawyers.
Oh my God.
Parent battles.
Oh my God.
Family crap.
I've lost everything.
And you've...
Everything.
But then I see you and you're laughing and you are happy. Right. And I think the lesson here for our audience listeners that are small business owners, that are parents, that are women, you can reset.
Right.
You can go home if you want to.
Right.
And not that Amelia Island was home, but it is now.
It is. I needed a break.
You can go back and just reset.
Right.
And sometimes that's what it takes.
Right.
To re-find yourself.
Right.
And then to get back in it. And seeing you on stage today, I was like, she's back. She's back, bitches.
Oh, I'm ready. Bring it.
Bring it. You're so inspiring. I'm so grateful for you, Gigi. What's next for you? What are you going to do?
Well, I really want to get back on the speaker. I've always been but COVID killed it.
for the speaking
My gosh.
industry.
I was doing 3 gigs a month going all across the country, and then it killed everything.
We did the virtual gig, I remember, in 2021 for that clothing brand.
Matilda Jane.
Matilda Jane, which was huge.
It's awesome.
And
oh my gosh. But it was virtual.
It was
Didn't get to
virtual.
meet anybody or hug anyone or talk to anybody. And it was great, but we did some virtual.
It's like on Zoom. We did some virtual gigs. I've seen Gigi do so many podcasts. It's not even funny. I've probably seen you record 50 podcasts and now you're on my podcast.
I know. Isn't that amazing?
So amazing.
See how good God is?
It's like your Taylor Swift moment. You were kind of my
so
Taylor
proud
Swift
of you.
moment. Yeah. I'm just so,
You're an amazing boss.
well, you're very
Amazing
kind.
creator.
I
I'm your
make
biggest fan.
mistakes.
Biggest fan other than your mama.
I've learned so much from you. I think our listeners can learn so much from you. I think if you're listening, you have to get Gigi's book, The Secret Ingredient, Recipes for Success for Business and in Life.
Right.
It is a life-changing book. Every single chapter has a different kind of quote and nugget from you
Right.
that are so good.
And then a recipe.
And a recipe.
Right.
Oh, savory and sweet recipes,
Right.
which people don't know that you are an incredible cook.
Well, thank you.
Nick and I have been to many a dinner parties at your house, and the food.
Right.
I miss those.
I miss.
We're gonna come down Amelia Island,
you
and
are.
we're
You
gonna
are.
bring Sawyer, and we're
Yes,
gonna
little-
have dinner.
Yeah, we need to. I think the future is I want to get really back to speaking across the country because I have this new speech and I've lived it. I can walk in authority with it because I've lived it. I don't have to pretend that, oh, I'm just an entrepreneur. No. Here's what I've done to fall, succeed. So that, and then I would really love to do a cooking show one day. I really want to do that. So we'll see. There's a few things that are happening and some interest. So that would be my dream. And I want to write another book called This Takes the Cake.
I didn't know if you wanted to release it on here.
After Gigi.
You heard it here first on the Renaissance podcast. Gigi's second book.
This Takes the
This
Cake.
takes the cake.
And I will
So good.
tell you that my cake was taken in so many ways. And so that's the next book.
Well, if
Start
you
working
can
on
dream it, you can do it.
That's right.
And we say on this show, actually, Walker over here, which I hate that he's not, because you'd be so proud of him. But
Oh, I know.
we say your quote, your famous quote, you have to let go to grow.
Right.
And if that hasn't been a theme of my life the last 5 years.
Gosh, you have to. To grow, you have to let go.
Yeah. Micromanaging people.
Right.
Wanting to just have it all, wanting all the clients, wanting all the business, and you just have to let it go and let God, right?
Right. And let it go to grow.
Mm.
That's right.
So
I guess
powerful.
that would be the words that I can say today for everyone on the podcast. And for you, let go to grow.
Just let it go.
Mm-hmm.
And God's never going to let you miss out on an amazing opportunity. I've heard that recently. You think, oh, well, what if like the love of my life just walked, he's never going to let that happen.
What's meant for you is going to be yours. God has something for everyone. And what's meant for you, you're not missing out on it. It's there. He's not going to give it to someone else because that's yours. That's your man. That's your business. That's your new
Opportunity.
life. That's your child. You're not going to miss on something that God
meant
has
for you.
planned for you.
Mm.
So people think, oh, I missed my book. Nope, you didn't miss it. It's just getting better.
Mm.
And every time you think something, oh, I'm going to do this. If I can only do this, God has 10 times more of what you could ever imagine for you. He's so good. So I'm sorry, I don't want to make this a preaching session, but
Preach. We love it. We love it.
You can never outgive God, and you can never imagine the good things he has for you if you just take one step of faith.
Drop the mic.
Mic drop.
Mic drop. Okay, as we wrap up, we ask our incredible women one question. It's a very
Okay.
important question.
Uh-oh. What kind of lipstick do I wear? What's my favorite bra brand?
What's your secret to being so skinny? That's not the question, but I do want you to answer that question.
That's a good question. Well, thank you.
Being
I don't
such a
feel
sweet
skinny.
queen, you have the biggest sweet tooth of anyone I know.
I love sugar.
and she bakes all day.
All day. I still bake.
She just bakes and she doesn't gain a pound. I don't understand. I look at a donut and I have 6 pounds on me.
Well, it's balance. So I've learned that I have to spit out all the things that I'm testing. I'm a wine connoisseur. Like, I can't consume everything. And I still, even at the island, I'm baking now for the island. I'm baking for coffee shops, and I'm doing it on a smaller scale, but I'm loving it. And I bake every day. I have things all over my counter. And I'm like, not today. And so 2 a week, you won't gain weight. 2 a day, you will. So if you work out regularly,
Drink your water.
Drink your water, and you have 2, whatever it is. If you want nachos, if you want a piece of pie,
Whatever your
ice
treat
cream,
is.
a cupcake, 2 a week, you won't gain weight. 2 a day, you will.
Okay. And you walk 2 miles a day.
I walk 2 miles a day, 6 days a week. And then I do the bar session, and I do that 3 days.
Which is like the hardest workout ever. Yeah. Look at her guns. She's loaded.
I don't know if I have guts. Okay.
I remember we would have our conference calls when you would be walking in the neighborhood. So some of my funniest like memories of Gigi is you would walk your street and you would, Kendall!
The dogs, shut it, puppies! Oh, sorry, what?
Sorry. Okay. Anyway, back to social media.
Get over here!
Just be, now that I have a baby, I get it. And I'm like, I need everyone to,
walking.
yeah.
I'm
You're
like, oh, I got you, girl. You're like, I'm so sorry, I'm not power walking.
You're
I'm
like,
with Sawyer right
yeah.
now. I'm like, pfft.
Yeah.
Okay, what is it?
I'm like sending you voice memos and I'm like, I'm out of breath because I'm walking Sawyer. It's the only time that he lets me do a conference call.
Right.
So, but yeah, your dog's in the background. Your neighbors.
Get over here. Oh, hey, neighbor.
Hey.
I've got your goodies later. But yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So the final question really was, what is your definition of a Renaissance woman?
Oh.
It could be anything.
Someone who takes the step of faith.
Love that. That's it.
Someone who always takes the step of faith. That's the true epitome of a Renaissance woman.
Boom.
Yeah.
That is
right.
everything. So if you're listening, just take that step. Take that step.
Get out of the boat.
You know what it is. You know what it is.
And you know in your heart what you need to be doing, but you're not doing it because you're lazy and you're afraid.
And you're afraid. You're letting fear run your life.
Right.
And listen to Gigi, who, yes, you've had fear. Of course, we're humans.
We all do. Right.
But you have to take that step.
Right.
And know that you're going to make it through.
Right. No matter what, even if you fall on your face.
It's just a lesson. It's just a lesson learned when you fall on your face. Unfortunately.
It's so awesome to fail and then get on the other side of failure and then be so happy and blessed and then sometimes be sad. But it's just like, oh my gosh, thank you. I'm on the other side. So it's awesome. Life is good.
Life is so good.
Life is hard, but life is good.
It is hard.
Yeah.
And that's why you're such an amazing speaker, because you talk about the hard.
Right.
It's not all cupcakes and sprinkles.
No.
It's never been all cupcakes and sprinkles.
Never. And it's okay because you're okay to be vulnerable.
Thank you so much, Gigi. I love you.
Today.
I'm so glad you're here.
Cheers to you and your fabulous beginnings and all of your new start.
Thank you.
Who knows what's going to happen?
Who knows what's going to happen? But it takes good people to get you there.
Good team.
And I've got a beautiful team.
That's right.
So, all right, Gigi. Love you. Cheers.
You too.